Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Heal and Restore. My name is Angie, and we're so grateful that you're here with us today. So, today on Heal and Restore, we're going to be exploring ways to reduce mental clutter, to quiet the chatter, and to open up space to cultivate what I would refer to as a healthy mindset. And so, with a healthy mindset, we have a more realistic approach to life, and that involves things like a positive attitude, emotional resilience in the face of troubling times, and compassion towards ourselves and towards others. So, with a healthy mindset, we can better cope with the stress that's so prevalent in society, in culture, in interactions these days. Stress is the main cause or one of the main causes of many health related problems, emotional health, mental health, physical health. So to be able to better cope with stress is a really strong tool. With a healthy mindset, you're more open to learning from challenges. Instead of letting them weigh on you and feel negative, you're able to turn them into an opportunity to learn and to grow. With a healthy mindset, you can seek out ways to improve not only your life, but the lives of those around you. So, this allows us to appreciate life, really, the good and the not so good that comes to us throughout our lifetime. And so, in order to open up space to cultivate this type of a healthy mindset, first we have to quiet the noise. So we have this mental chatter, right? That's always happening in the mind. And you hear it so often from people, I can't sleep. My mind doesn't stop racing. I can't focus. I'm doing too many things. I'm multitasking, which is something people say a lot, which um, doesn't really have a benefit for your mind or for your life. It just means that you're constantly switching your attention from one thing to the next. And so, just as the lungs breathe, and the heart beats, the mind thinks, the brain thinks. And so, in order to cultivate this sort of openness and sort of stop the chatter, we're not looking at stopping thinking any more than we would be looking at stopping our heart from beating or stopping our lungs from thinking. What we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to give the mind something to focus on, something to relax into, and we call them anchor points. And so by being able to focus on something and quiet the static, quiet the noise, and have a single pointed focus, single pointed attention, that brings us into the present moment. And in the present moment, we can be free from things like worry, from things like, remembering or planning or just thinking about anything that's not happening right here and right now in your life. So present, focused attention. So when you have that, you have the ability to be with what is and to meet what is. And it really is the key to a deeper and richer way to experience life. So we're going to try that today, and we're going to walk through a few different anchor points to give you a few different choices on how to focus your attention. And so first, let's just make sure that we take this time to arrive. And so give yourself space to take a seat and to ground yourself down into that seat. So feeling the weight of your body on the chair. Maybe your feet are on the floor. That's always nice. So with your spine, let's sit up erect but comfortable. And the crown of your head should be lifted with a sort of naturally dignified posture. So we're feeling at once rooted into the energy of the earth, and also at ease and open in our body and our mind. And so if you need to lie down to do this practice, you're welcome to, and that's okay. Sitting up is good, or even standing to do this practice. Just get yourself in a place where you feel like you will have um, the ability to focus your mind. So close the door if you need to, ask other people to give you a little bit of time, whatever it is, to just carve out these next few minutes to yourself. Okay. So we'll take a couple breaths just to get us focused and started. So just a big inhale and a big exhale through the nose. And we'll come back to the breath as an anchor point as we move through today's practice. For now, I'd like you to start with the idea of a visual anchor. So I invite you to look around your space. Move your head and look around the room that you're in or the space that you're in. And let's find something to focus on. And so as I look around my room, we're meeting here in December, and I'm in Michigan in the US, and that means it's wintertime for me. And I'm looking out the window, and we're having a beautiful snowy day. The snow's falling. It looks like I'm in a snow globe. Like it's beautiful, big, light flakes that are just kind of drifting down from the sky. You may not have that visual, so you may have something like a plant to look at, or a book, or a piece of artwork on the wall. Something where you can just rest your gaze and rest your attention. And maybe this item that you've chosen invokes a certain amount of, there's some sort of an emotional energy or a feeling to it. Or maybe you just appreciate the aesthetic beauty of it. And so just take a moment to really kind of become one with that object. Share the space with that object. And you may start, your mind may start thinking, oh, I wonder where this came from, or I wonder how it was made, or, things like that. And so I'd say if your mind starts thinking and start trying to be analytical and processing, bring it back to just being aware of it, to just appreciating it for what it is. And so this is a nice visual anchor point. And you can do this obviously at any point of the day. If you need a break, especially for those of us that look at screens all day, give your eyes a break, something else to think about and something else to look at. And, turn your head to something in nature if you have that available. And if not, to just something within the room that you're in. Settle the mind. And so that's a visual focal point, a visual anchor. Next, I'd like to experiment with the anchor of sound. So if you close your eyes or just look down, sort of in an unfocused gaze, if that feels more comfortable for you, and tune in to the sounds around you. And at first, you might not notice anything because we live in a very noisy world and we're so used to and desensitized to the sounds around us. But give all of your attention now to those sounds. And as you sort of project outward to hear these sounds, you'll notice more and more. Maybe you notice people moving around you. Maybe you notice the sound of traffic outside or the sound of the air moving through the room. Maybe there's a ticking of a clock or the whir of the fan. Just reach out and see what you can hear. Maybe if you're lucky enough to be in a quiet space, you hear the sound of silence. There is a sound that comes with silence. Maybe you notice that as you're listening, you start to hear other things that were there and you just weren't picking them up. I just noticed that I can hear the heat in my room, which I assume has been going on for a while, but I wasn't really focused on it. And so this is another anchor point, using your senses to bring you into the present moment and to give your mind something to focus on. And this really helps to quiet the chatter. And so now we'll move away from the focal point of the sound and to the focal point of the breath. Now, the breath is the most used focal point for meditative practices with good reason. The breath is something that's always there, right? You always carry it with you. Wherever you go, your breath is there with you. And so it's always available. Another good reason that we use the breath is because the breath is one way that we can regulate the nervous system directly and quickly and easily. By modifying our breath, we can send signals to our body and our nervous system to slow down and to focus, and that we're in a calm and safe space. So we can modulate the nervous system through the breath. And so it's really a great tool to come to as an anchor point in our practice. And so we'll do a certain there, and there's lots of ways that you can use the breath as an anchor point. But today we'll work on a breathing practice that has longer exhales than inhales. And this is a really great way to tell the body that you're safe and that you are calm. Because when we're not, when we're in a state of agitation or fear, or we don't feel safe, our breathing is shallow and quick, and inhales and exhales are the same. Maybe inhales are even longer because we're trying to give oxygen to the body in case we need to fight or flee. But if we change our exhales to be the longer part of the breath, that's the message to the body that we are calm and we're safe. And so what we're going to do is we're going to work on a 4-part breath. And the inhale will be to a certain count, and then we'll hold the breath for a short count. The exhale will be a longer count than the inhale, and then we'll hold the bottom of the breath for a short count. And so it's in, hold, out, hold. And so I'm going to suggest a count for you, but everybody breathes differently. And so what I suggest may be longer than you can or shorter than you feel comfortable with. And I would say modify it for what you need. But let's try it. Let's start with the 4-count breath, and we're going to inhale for 4. So just inhale and do this through the nose with a closed mouth if you're able. Breathing through the nose is another way to tell the nervous system that we're calm. And so we're going to breathe through the nose for a count of 4. And then at the top of the breath, hold for 2 counts. And then we exhale out for a count of 6. The bottom of the breath, we hold for 2. And then we begin again. In for 4. Hold for 2. Out for 6. Hold for 2. In for 4. Hold for 2. Out for 6. Hold for 2. And so I'm going to stop counting and let you do that at your own pace. And so obviously you can change the numbers. Just make sure your exhales are longer by at least 2 counts than your inhales. So go ahead and do that for the next minute. And as you breathe, imagine each breath is sweeping through you like a calm breeze, soothing and clearing. And see if you can feel the nervous system start to unwind. And as you breathe, see if you notice that your mind starts to wander. If it does, we won't judge it. We'll just bring it back to the breath, bring it back to the count. All right, finish up your last exhale. And begin to breathe normally again. So we're going to follow this breathing anchor with the anchor of the body. So this ties into neurosomatic mindfulness, the idea that the present moment can be accessed at any time within the body. So just like we've used our senses and just like we've used our breath, we can also use the body to give ourselves an anchor. So let's start with the top of the head. So we're just going to feel from the top of the head through the brow and the front of the face. And you're looking for the physical sensations. So really trying to get into touch with what is within the body right now. And so do we notice that we're maybe scrunching up our eyebrows in concentration? Or maybe we're squishing our eyes. And just as we become aware of those parts of the body, we're going to send them a gentle message to soften, to relax, and to be calm. So moving down through the face and the back of the skull, into the neck and the shoulders. And sometimes I like to even just move, right? The area of the body that we're concentrating on, because it gives me more of an ability to access the feelings in that area easily. So you don't have to be rigid during this body meditation. It's good to move into that area of the body and say, oh yeah, I feel those little knots in my neck. Oh yeah, I feel like I can loosen up my shoulders, and maybe that allows you to drop the shoulders back and down, open up some space in the chest. We spend so much of our time hunched forward, and we don't even realize it because we're forward-facing animals, right? And the work that we do is in front of us, and the devices that we're always looking at are in front of us, and that's just our focus. So we spend, as you know, we spend time throughout the years forward focused. We tend to start to kind of curve in and to hunch a little bit. And so by actively thinking about pushing those shoulders back, sitting up a little taller, it allows us to open up that space in the chest. Just think of how this feels for you right now. Maybe you notice you can breathe a little easier, or you can invite those areas of tension to kind of melt away. Move down the body, down through the chest and the abdomen. And I would just invite you to, if it feels comfortable, to place your hands, one on top of the other, right on the abdomen. Just get in touch with what's happening down there. Maybe you're digesting breakfast or lunch or dinner. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe you're just connecting with the energy in this area. How does it feel for you right now? And if there is discomfort, we're just going to say, can we be with it? Can we open to it and accept it? And it doesn't mean we have to like it, but it does mean we're able to be with it through our healthy mindset, through our positive attitudes, through our awareness of what is. You can drop the hands now down back into the lap and then move your focus down into the hips, pelvic region of the body. These are often quite tight for those of us who do a lot of sitting, myself included. We're sitting at desks, we're driving in cars, we're generally sitting to go through our day most of the time. So if we feel like we have tight hips or a tight pelvic region, we can think about that. Maybe through our healthy mindset, we can adopt new ways of exercising or moving that help us to alleviate some stress and tension in this area. But for now, we're just noticing what is. And then we're going to bring our attention down to our legs, our knees, moving down to the ankles and the feet resting on the floor or maybe dangling in the air. And feeling the aliveness and the energy that's within our body and within the space around us. So notice if you can extend your awareness out, a few inches from your skin. We share energy with the area around us. We're constantly exchanging energy, whether it be in the form of breath or just in the form of feelings or thoughts. Your energy can influence those that are in the room with you. So just seeing if we can feel out into the space around us. Right. And the last sort of anchor point that I want to share with you is a mental visualization. So we've used very concrete things like our senses, like our breath, like our body so far. But this time we're going to use our mind to help focus our mind. And so I'd like to invite you again to close your eyes, or if it feels more comfortable, just look down at the ground in front of you. And imagine for a moment that your mind is like a vast and open sky. which truly our minds are. They're limitless, they're infinite, they're potential. So imagine your mind as this beautiful sky, and these thoughts that are in your mind, we're going to imagine them like clouds. So some thoughts are soft and light, right? Just kind of bouncing through. Some may feel a little bit more dark or dense or heavy. And some may move fast, and some may linger for a while. And realizing that these are just thoughts that are coming and going. The noise in the mind is temporary and ever changing. And by focusing on these thoughts, we can send them on their way. We can release one cloud at a time and come back to this clear, open expanse of the mind. And we do this just by watching and noticing. You may notice as the clouds roll through, you get caught up in one. You get caught up in the story or the feelings of a particular cloud. And as soon as you notice that you're caught up in that story or that feeling, you can invite it to move on. It's the practice of noticing, of being aware. And sometimes it may take a few minutes and you'll all of a sudden say, "Oh gosh, I was really caught up in that thought." But you've noticed and you bring it back. So in this visualization of these thoughts as clouds, I invite you now to think about the year behind you that has held many moments for you. So some of them have been nourishing, maybe some more challenging. They're all just a part of the unfolding of your being over the past year. And so bring to mind something and let your awareness rest on something that you feel particularly positive about or proud of. Maybe it's a moment where you lived with courage or love or compassion or strength or presence. Just feel into that moment, revisit it. Now, I'd like to invite you to take that moment. If you haven't thought of anything yet, it's okay. You can come back to this exercise later. But take that moment and place it in your heart. Maybe put a hand over your heart. So as a physical gesture of placing that moment in your heart. And you've created for yourself a new anchor. So this is something that you can come back to, something that you can focus on, something that reminds you of who you are and what you've met and how you've walked through the world. And this kind of anchor will give you strength to move forward. And so as we close out our meditation today, I'd like to invite you to check out the 10 amazing talks that we have today that will further support you on decluttering the mind and opening and making space for a healthy mindset and moving forward into the year with intentional um, direction and confidence and the tools that you have to know that you can continue to come back to the present moment and to cultivate open awareness for yourself. And so we have 10 speakers. I'm just going to tell you about a few of them. There's a whole list here on the watch page that you can check out. But we have Jim Quick, today who's going to give you ideas and practices to allow you to learn faster and to focus deeper. So that falls right into what we've been talking about. John Assaraf, he has some really cool ideas to help you to train your brain like a muscle. And so you want to check that out. Hal Elrod has some great ways to think of mornings as transformative opportunities for ritual. So starting your day to sort of rewire and elevate your energy is a really nice message from him. We've got Dr. Ron Siegel, who talks about mindfulness and body awareness. We've got Emma McAdams, who gives you strategies to sort of deal with anxiety. We've got Craig Hamilton, who can take you beyond limiting thoughts and give you a path to awaken clarity and stillness in your mind. So much today for you to focus on and learn from. So I invite you to tap into the practices that feel relevant and necessary for you today. And I hope that you really have a wonderful, amazing day within Heal and Restore. And we look forward to seeing you back in the meditation practice tomorrow morning. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.